Good Wednesday morning to you. If this is your first video in this series, I'm almost done with the series and this project, which has gone through a number of changes. But the background is basically last year I had built a block wall here so I could have a little planting area. And after sort of the success of that, my family wanted to encourage me. This is my parents' house. And they said, you know what? Why don't you rip out the bushes that we have on either end, and then you can, build a bigger wall and have a bigger planting area. And then, while you're at it, you could probably start terracing the hill, which will, gain us. It's really kind of an ungainly kind of hill, but if we terrace the hill, yeah, a lot more planting area for me and essentially more real estate for them. But as it turns out, I got the wall done, and it was kind of like, oh, well, it's taking so long to do the wall. Maybe you should just quit with the wall, and then you can get some planting in. But then a couple of days later, the question was, well, when are you going to need the lumber for the next level? And, well, okay, so suffice it to say, I'm going to finish this second level, and then we'll call it done for this year, and next year we can pick up and put another level kind of where that pot is. So that's kind of what we're up to, or what I'm up to. And I've got the bottom layer of the lumber in. It's probably going to be about 5 of those tall, and you can see some rebar sticking out there. That's me pinning it to the hill. So I need to finish today pinning it to the hill, and then I can start getting the remaining boards and putting them on. This is pretty well leveled out. It's not going to be perfect, but it'll be close. I'm not aiming for absolute perfection. I am not a professional contractor. I'm just trying to get this done. So I'm going to start with the sledgehammer. The big sledgehammer. If you saw what I did in the end of the last video, it was a tiny little mini sledge, which seemed like about the right thing to have to be able to drive smaller rebar in, but it gets to a point where the mini sledge, it's good for starting it, but you need the heavier one, and we have that, and so that's what I'm going to start with. That wasn't too bad. If I had to do it for an hour, though, it would probably completely wipe me out. Now the next thing is the next board. I drilled through the wood. That helps me locate where I'm going to drill the with a masonry bit to be able to drill into the hill. And the drill started to overheat and actually smoke yesterday, so I decided it was the end of the day anyway. It was time to give the drill a break, so I'm going to bring that back out, and we're going to try and drill the remaining 3 holes and get them down far enough so I can pin that other board. Here we go. Alright folks, meet Sledge and son of Sledge, or daughter. That took a little effort. Yeah, the drill smoked a little bit more, but it's still running, so I'm happy with that. Now I'm pinned. That's where I wanted to be the end of the day yesterday, so that's handled. Now what I gotta do is pull a couple of pieces out into the driveway and cut them in half, because we're going to stagger the joints. So let's see how that goes. Neighbor wanted to walk, and I just quickly wrapped things up. So I've got all 4 of these cut. Unfortunately, they're not at the other end. Not the neatest cuts I've ever done, but I'll put those on the outside. That should work. Here's 2 more of them. So everything's pre-cut and ready to go. Next step is to get the extension cord back out here, change out the drill bit, and try driving in some screws. So let's see what happens with that. Okay, the phone is overheating, so I'll make this quick. These screws are incredible. They just glide right in. I was afraid that it might be a fight or whatever, so I only bought the smaller package. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And it's just going to go together so quickly. So, for reference, and it's not really an endorsement, but I mean, I'm not a pro, but these are headlock 6-inch. I forget what's the company name, is Fasten Master. So good. Sorry about the shakiness, I'm trying to hold with one hand. But anyway, good screws. I need to go get more so I can go up. I got 2 levels now. I gotta get up to 5, so I'm gonna go do a parts run. Well, that's interesting. The box I got was open. I was going to get the smaller ones. They didn't have the smaller ones. I had to get the bigger box. Actually, now that I look at it, what's that perforation about? Anyway. Yeah, so I counted. There are 50 of them in there, plus some bonuses. Don't know how that happened. This is definitely a similar thing, but I don't know if the head's the same. And this is the alternate one I was thinking about, but I didn't like the fact that it would potentially stick up. So it looks like I've got all the 50 that I paid for, so I'm not really going to complain. But yeah, I know people that have used the orange big box store and just like, oh, well, I only need a couple of them, so I'll open up a package and take a couple. That's not really fair to the next guy. But anyway, let's get this going and see if I can finish before lunch. Well, that was a fair amount of work, but it's done. It's got a few little mistakes in it, but it's also pretty solid. So, oh, I actually now see something at the bottom, but I'm just going to live with it. Just some marks on the board on the second level in the middle there, but those will eventually just gray out like everything else. Some of the wood was still kind of wet from the pressure treatment, and so when I put the screws in, a little bit of liquid came to the surface, but that's not an issue. And the fasteners just work beautifully, so I'm really happy with that. All that's really left for today is some cleanup, and then if everything goes to schedule tomorrow, I gotta do a cleaning out of the trench in front of the wall now, so that I can actually start properly backfilling it, and then filling it with topsoil and building the gravel pads and all the rest that goes with that. But I'm a happy camper. I'm gonna quit for the day. I'm gonna go have some lunch, and then I'll come back and do a little cleaning up. That's it for today. Let's see what tomorrow brings. Good Thursday morning to you. We've got a lot of work to do here. I need to get this upper bed prepared, backfilled and all of that, but before I do that, I've also got to do some backfilling up above and So there's a lot of steps to this. I've done a lot of thinking about it, but the bottom line is I've got a lower bed here which is kind of messed up right now with all these stepping stones. That's going to get rearranged. But the bottom line, the key to the whole design, and I'm going to try and move this out of the way. You can see I've got my bricks there. That's the separation between gravel pad and planting bed. And then on the other end, I got a couple more bricks. It's actually 3 bricks across, but separation between gravel pad and planting bed. It's a little messy, and we'll get to that. I'm basically going to extend the line of this gravel bed up. So there'll be a little bit of a gravel bed up there. And same thing on this end. This gravel bed gets extended up. I still got to figure out kind of what to do at the end of the wall, how to fill that in. I haven't figured all the details out, but I've also got these steps kind of coming down, and when I start to backfill, the problem is going to be that they're not at the same level. So I've got to do something about that. But I mean, this all kind of started with me excavating out. If you go back a few videos, excavating out behind this one here and finding that pipe going down. I've got to figure out if I can stick something behind there as a retainer of sorts, but where it still dives down. So I kind of thought maybe I'll put it at an angle. I don't know. Still trying to figure that out, but the bottom line is these lines right here. So I'm going to mark them. I'm going to figure out a way to project them up to the wall there and on the other end, and then in the back I want to look at this hill a little bit more carefully and figure out if I want to actually try and level it kind of left to right, right to left. So what's behind the actual retaining wall is pretty consistent level, if that makes sense. I've also got to just put some fill in behind her because I had to cut further back than I needed for the wall to go up, just to make sure that the wall would fit without being bound up on something. So a lot of little things to do. Let's just get started. That was a surprising amount of work, but I cleared out the area in front of the wall and tossed it up behind the wall to backfill in, and I got about 85% of it. So I'm going to need some extra backfill, and that's where I'm going to take the big pile that I'm standing right next to right now and get a few shovelfuls out of that and have to carry it back all the way to the other end there. But I can then backfill in behind most of the way. I'm not going all the way to the top on the ends because ultimately if I do, it's all just going to slip right back down again. That's what I discovered on the right side, so I won't do that on the left side. But I got to do some fill in, and then from there I guess we'll see what comes next. I'm taking a break. Alright, I got lucky. That only took a couple of bucketfuls. I thought it was going to be a bit more than that, but figured I should probably give you a little tour of what it's looking like now. So let's come around To this side, you can see that I have now backfilled. There were a couple of those pavers that were kind of holding up the pipe. I've just got to be careful now. I got to figure out if I can get a couple of bricks maybe to hold it up a little bit more solidly, but otherwise I'm basically going to backfill and rely on the backfill to hold it up. So this is what I was talking about, where it doesn't exactly, darn, shadow. Let's see. Hopefully you can see that just kind of slopes down. If I need to fill it in a little more, I can later. I'm not too worried about that, but it's basically filled all the way to the end and sloped down at the other end. And then you can see the hill, basically. That's the rock of the mountain. Yeah. And so that's what I've got to backfill, and so the next step, I think, is getting the larger rocks, putting them in. You might have seen me with the tape measure there, just checking real quick. What I was trying to figure out is how deep is it right now. Ultimately, what I want is like about a 6-inch bed, pretty much what I did down below. So I'm going to fill in probably up until about 7 or 8 inches with the larger stone, if I can, if I have enough. And then we'll go after the gravel to fill it in a little bit higher, and that'll kind of flatten it out at the bottom, and then I can backfill with soil, with the sifted soil. So that's the plan. Here we go. Making progress now. Let's give you another quick tour. You can kind of see I've got the smaller gravel in. I didn't go all the way to the end because ultimately I want to get the some landscape fabric down and get some of the soil in. So I'm basically going to start in the middle. I'm going to work my way to the outside. That should really help get that pile down, and then I can grab anything I need from around the piles. Speaking of which, that's the pile of smaller gravel that has now been reduced to that. That's good, and I'd have to get off the wall to show you, but the larger rocks, which you can see at the end there, I hope. Yeah, I got a bit of a glare that I'm trying to look at, but hopefully you can see there's larger rocks there. That'll continue on to the end. I've just got to actually figure out what I'm doing at the end, but it's just so much of a shifting thing, trying to move stuff around. So I'm going to try and get some of the sifted soil in there, or first I'll do landscape fabric and then some sifted soil, and we'll work our way from the middle out. That is probably enough for one day. I'll do a little bit of cleanup. Still taking me a few more minutes, but you start to get the idea. I've got a gravel pad here. Yeah, the bricks are a little misaligned. I can try and finesse that a little bit later. I piled up a bunch of soil up here. I've cut that pile down. I have actually, let me try and carefully step my way over here so I can turn around. Show you that the big gravel pile is gone. That's here and some in there. I've gotten to about the halfway point, if you judge from the joints in the logs there. and I've had some thoughts. I'm still thinking a couple of things through. Mainly down here, I got to figure out how to sort of retain things while still doing the step down that I'm doing. But part of the problem with backfilling behind the wall was as I got closer and closer to the end, stuff was just falling back out again. And it occurs to me I could just take another 4x4, an older one that we have, and just stuff it back in there and use a couple of those screws to hold it in. That should pretty much retain things pretty well. Once it gets kind of packed, it won't really move as much. I could do the same thing on the other end, and I could finish backfilling. So that may be where I start tomorrow. Who knows? I gotta do some thinking. That's it for today. Let's see what tomorrow brings. Wow, it's Friday morning. Good Friday morning to you. This week's gone by kind of quick. The quick sort of update, well, you've already seen kind of where I am because you're watching the same video. But this morning I have to deal with, or I choose to deal with the, how can I explain this? It's not the retaining the wall sort of front to back like this, but retaining the soil going in this direction because the wall steps down. So I've got to figure out some way, and I've been thinking about it, and I think I have an idea how to do this, but it's going to involve basically taking one of these caps, like I've got a couple of caps down here. I'm probably going to take one of these, and I'm going to try and literally draw a line with the chisel and cut back so I'll have an angle that I can then slide in here and there on both of these step downs so that the soil behind them will be retained. There will be soil on either side of these blocks when I put them in, so that'll sort of lock them into place, and I'm hoping that that'll all work. The tricky part is, I mean, any solution I come up with, I have to deal with that pipe. I have to be careful not to raise it up too much, or I don't know. I've got to actually take some measurements and figure out if these blocks are going to work or not. So that's what I'm going to attack. Here we go. Slight change of plans. It's not perfect, but let me show you. That black tape that I put up there, that was supposed to match up with the bricks that are down here. You can kind of see there's the brick right there, and it's supposed to match up. Unfortunately, that's right in the middle of one of the steps down, and that kind of makes it a little hard to put planting bed right there necessarily. I'd have to put yet another one of these blocks in, and it's not quite right. So I think what I'm going to do is I put the bricks on top of that block, which get close to the top but not exactly. Those are basically going to be the end of the planting bed, and then this will be a gravel pad that I can step on to get into the bed and across the stepping stones at the top of the wall there. So that'll just give me what I need there. I'm probably going to have to pack something. Maybe I can stick another brick on top there to support the last stepping stone. I'll figure that out when I get to it. But I got to continue with the backfill. I got to keep that going. And so I think what I'm going to do is, this is pretty much going to... Are they all gone now? That was ridiculous. And that's like the third time that guy's gone by. Sorry about that. I had to cut short, and I've lost my train of thought here. I think what I was trying to say is that'll be a gravel pad, and then from that point on, from the brick there all the way to the other end will be the planting area. I will redesign it slightly. I'm only losing what, like 6, maybe 8 inches on that. So, and then the part on the left here where the pipe is sticking out there, I still need to kind of figure out what I want to do there, but basically I can build a gravel pad here. I don't mind if it spills over a little bit. I'm going to have to figure out how to fill this in, but I need to get this planting bed done so that I can actually get stuff planted. This is taking me way too long. I need to get this done. So that's where I am on this. Next up, I'm going to clean up a bit from what I've just done, and then I'm going to start backfilling with the big rock and then the little rocks, and then some landscape fabric so I can finally finish backfilling with the soil. I guess the battery's almost completely dead, so it shut itself off, but there you go. The top level is pretty much done. Let's see if we can't go mobile here. I'm in kind of a crazy position, so there we go. Off the tripod. Backfilled. The only problem is this end, I had to just kind of let it dive like that because it's not, I don't have something going all the way to the wall. Otherwise it's going to spill out. So my phone ran out of battery, but that's where I am. Kind of looks like I knew what I was doing, almost. Let's see if we can't move along. The one thing I couldn't really deal with, and I'll figure out later, is the fact that it's dropping off right here. But it turned out I did have a couple of extra pieces I was able to put in there and kind of make it look half decent. I'm just going to let it fall off for now. When I plant it out, I'm not going to plant anything right over on this side, and I can come back to this at a later date. I'm also thinking about the ends of the wooden wall there and making them look a little bit nicer, and other things. I've got the gravel pad down there, but you notice the pipe is still sticking out, so various things. But the good news is I've emptied out that whole area there, so that's a good thing. Now it's time for some plumbing. I want to get the irrigation in here so I can test it when the sprinklers go off tomorrow morning. I want to make sure that it's actually working the way it should. I'm going to tap into that particular riser and have the tubing come down and go across. I'm probably going to have it run across with the pipe, and at some point that pipe will get buried along with the tubing. So let me just get that going and show you what it looks like when I'm done. Alright, I'm calling it. I have 4 sprinkler heads in at the top. They're not getting quite as much water as I had hoped. That could be because Down here is doing better because they're hooked into individual manifolds, but then there was already a line here with multiple, like I got one there. I got another one further down, you can see with a white cap. So I think better distribution because it's coming in on a 1/2 inch pipe and then going down a 1/4. This is all 1/4 up above, so I need to rethink that a little bit. But I think I'm close enough that I can actually start planting on the top. On the bottom, I've still got to incorporate some more of the soil amendment and pull out some of the stepping stones that are there as just part of the overall plan. So a bunch of stuff still yet to do. So with that, I think this video has probably gotten long enough. Unfortunately, we'll have to pass on to the next video, whatever comes next. So with that, thank you so much for watching. This is the Budget Gardener signing off, saying stay safe, take care of the ones you love, and even the ones you don't. And may your thumb be green.